What's going on? My name is Joe. I practice talking on the internet, and this video is brought to you by the good folks who give me money on Patreon. So for 5, 10, or $25, you can join the Patreon community and you get a lot of perks for that. And one of the perks for that, which is available also to Frackle, Eric, Valentine, and Michael, and Rebecca in this case, is that you get to have me make a video about a topic. And specifically, Rebecca wanted me to kind of go on the record about sort of like my take on transracialism in regards to some videos that Kidology made, as well as a conversation that Stardust and Kidology had at the time that I'm recording this. I want to say it was yesterday. So I've been dodging this for quite a while, mainly because I explained this multiple times on stream. So I guess I can thank Rebecca as a patron to create a video to directly talk about this, kind of get where my stance is on this, and get some clarification if you ever have to debate this on the internet. Because let me tell you something, the takes are kind of dog shit. So we're gonna spend some time clarifying a few things and doing some stuff. I'm gonna try some things. I have to clip some things together in this video. So we're gonna test the limits of Windows proprietary video editing software. So anyway, let's get to it. Gender is our internal sense of self. What tends to happen in practice is that a baby is born, a doctor takes a look at the sexual reproduction toolkit, zoop, assigns it either male or female, and in some countries there's a third option, right? Once the sex is assigned, we presume the child's gender. For most people, this causes limited fuss, if any at all. A thing to understand, though, and what we're seeing in real time, is that gender doesn't end with sexual assignment. We have bodies that don't clearly fit as it relates to our sexual assignment, identity, expression. In short, these things require congruence, and which is just like they require harmony with each other. Race presents as categorized traits that are socially constructed and understood. These understood social constructions give us a good idea of who Black people are, Asian people, Latin folks, all types of people, right? However, there's more to racial identity than just physical appearance alone. There's culture, community, connections, other ways that are just like one of the few other ways that we create racialized identity, right? As humans, we require internal congruence, internal harmony. Our dimensions of gender are intersections of identities, experiences, personal characteristics and expressions. And I guess to make it as clear as I can, we are more than just our body, gender identity, and gender expression. It includes our ethnicity, our race, our faith, our class, so aka socioeconomic status. All these things come together to make up who we are. The problem with the if you can choose your gender, you can choose your race camp is that we inherit the social construction of race. We don't inherit gender. We do, however, inherit sexual characteristics, right? XY chromosomes, XX, etc. That is inherited. Ethnic differences, our ethnicity is inherited from our parents. Our sex is inherited from our parents. However, race is socially inherited. Gender is not. So what happens, and we even saw it with the falling apart of the transracial argument within pushbacks, is that Rachel Dolezal, no matter what she does, can never be trans black because her parents are white. And these things are socially inherited. So the only way that that would even remotely make sense is we would have to completely change how the construction and perpetuation of race exists. And look, like I've talked to content creators like Lumiru, shout out to Lumiru, they're great about these sort of like concepts of resisting racialization, but that's a totally different topic for a totally different day. I want to take a second to talk a little bit about racial dysphoria, because this came up in certain arguments, even arguments that I ran into from really cool people about Ollie London's case, that one of the reasons why Ollie London wanted to transition to be Korean is because he, and we'll get to that in a second, is experiencing racial dysphoria. That's bullshit. So we can recognize that racial dysphoria is a thing with transracial adoptees, but when we look at the expressions and the articulation of racial dysphoria, we can tell very, very quickly that there are distinct differences. Something that I watched on my stream not too long ago was around Angela Tucker. And I guess I'll just play her thoughts on how she feels as a Black woman as it relates to being transracially adopted.
Often don't admit this, but a lot of Black transracial adoptees look in the mirror and are surprised when we look in the mirror and see a Black person, because we're so used to seeing white people, and we see our parents and they're white and we love them. Right. And so then when we see ourselves, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot, I'm Black.
Right.
And so I don't...
As a Black woman, where do you feel most comfortable?
Where I fit in, where I feel like I actually belong, is with other transracial adoptees. So I feel like white people are comfortable around me. I'm comfortable with white people. It's not that I don't want to identify as a Black woman.
Right.
But not growing up with Black culture and feeling fear when I met my birth mother and my whole birth family, I was a little bit afraid to meet them because they're a Black family, and I haven't been around that. And so
exactly.
I can't consider myself...
It was like alien to you, like completely unknown.
It was,
yeah.
And therefore kind of scary, but then at the same time, I was like, this is my family.
Right.
And why am I afraid of my own family?
Right.
But I don't identify with Black folks because I feel my own sense of fear or like illegitimacy is how I feel even sitting at this table with you. Because I feel like you three are legitimate Black people because you were raised by Black people.
Right.
It's embarrassing to say that, but that's how I
your
feel.
reality. Yeah.
And we can tell that there is something very real and very complicated when it comes to transracial adoptees and them adapting and assimilating within their white families. But then if we look to Rachel Dolezal,
I definitely did not feel at home in the family and in the white world. It felt foreign to me, and it felt uncomfortable and awkward to be there. And it also felt oppressive, because I had to constantly mask and subordinate and repress parts of myself in order to just kind of survive socially.
You describe a pretty horrific childhood, one of punishment and negligence and very little love.
Oftentimes when I was being punished, I was left wondering what I really had done to deserve that punishment, because I felt like I had just been being myself. You know, I'd just been being creative or spontaneous or dancing or just doing something that I hadn't intentionally been doing something wrong or evil or terrible. It was just, but I'd stepped out of line. I hadn't, done what a girl should do. I had somehow been, immodest or sensual or something. And I had to, be punished for that because I was being raised to believe that the only goal for me in life was to get married and bear children and be a good wife and mother.
And then we look to Ollie London.
People don't understand me, but I do identify as Korean, and I do look Korean now. I do feel Korean. I don't identify as British, so please don't refer to me, any media or anyone online, as British, because I identify as Korean. That's just my culture. That's my home country. That's exactly how I look now. And I also identify as Jimin. That's my Korean name. But not only that, I know it's a little bit confusing for some.
See three distinct things. Angela Tucker has a level of dysphoria as it relates to her racial identity due to the limitations of white parenting and white parenthood. We can look at Rachel Dolezal and just say that she had shitty white parents. And then Ollie London is just confused. And it's very clear that he is confused. Why do I continue to keep saying he? I thought they were they, them. Well, another problem with the transracial discourse is that people's information stops at about 2018. So have fun with that one. But in short, if you're made it to the end of this, and +1 if you did, sex is inherited by your parents. Gender is not inherited by your parents. Ethnic differences and your ethnicity is inherited by your parents, and race is socially inherited. But thankfully, this is out of the zeitgeist, and I want to thank Rebecca again for wanting to drug this up just in case we need some clarification deeper. But again, if there's something that you feel like I can be a bit more clear on, feel free to put a comment somewhere, and I'll find it, or at me on Twitter. All right. Have a good rest of your day, evening, or morning, or whenever you see this, and I'll catch you soon.